I'm Mr. Possible, Joshua Potts, always the brother of the same mother, Aaron Potts, Super Hot Potts, and when your favorite two black runners coming at you every single
Two Black Tuesday. Yes, sir. We're back, man. Coming off a big high right now, for real.
For real, man, it's been going up. The Baton Talk just was released. We're recording this on Thursday, so our first Baton Talk was just released. More content from the pre-classic definitely coming soon. And there's more from the Running Report coming soon. So I'm telling you, bro, if you're watching on YouTube, keep on watching from YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube right now, give this a thumbs up, bro. Leave a comment, share it with your friend, something like that, because I think this is where it's at. YouTube, we're doing more stuff on here as well. Get us on Twitter. We're more active on Twitter as well, for the first time ever. So yeah, it's really hype right now. And if you need a shirt, buy a shirt. There's a lot
going get a shirt.
Going on.
Get a shirt
right now. Get a shirt for the culture, buy the culture. But let's get into the guest, bro, because this dude right here is the definition of for the culture. Definition of for the culture of track and field. A D3 track and field legend.
Yeah, track star.
2013 USATF indoor mile champion and 3,000 meter champion, crazy double, 4x1500 world relay silver medalist. Will Leer is on the podcast. This is awesome. This is awesome, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Leer, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. The energy you guys are bringing right now, I gotta step on my game a little bit. It's getting a little dark here. It's getting a little late in Colorado, but I'll match your guys' energy.
Yeah, no, we're happy to have you on. Last time we saw you, we were taking some hot takes at the Sound Running meet, So I'm sure you're coming off a high too, just watching the Olympics as well, Diamond Leagues and all that. I'm sure you're engulfed in the sport just as much as we are right now.
Absolutely. I think all of my hot takes didn't come to fruition, but that didn't make them any less hot at the time.
No, you had some good ones. That did come true. I didn't end up getting that video out because the video will come out soon enough, but it's basically I lined up the predictions to what people got. So some of yours, you actually got a lot that were pretty good. It was just the Cole Hocker one, but we'll get to that. We'll talk about that. Talk about that one pretty soon. But for the main reason that you're here too, we want to talk about this Under Armour all-out mile that's happening between October 1st through 11th. People can train and sign up from August 30th, September 30th. And we really just want to hear what the Under Armour all-out mile really is, because it sounds like a great idea, a fun idea for people really to get together and compete against each other and really just better themselves in their running overall. So could you really explain to us what the all-out mile is with Under Armour?
Yeah, absolutely. So the brainchild of the all-out mile is to give people something to go after that's not your 5K, it's not your 10K. A mile is a super digestible distance. Mm-hmm. We all run in elementary school, we all run in high school, and then for some reason, that pattern doesn't progress forward as we start entering road races. Everyone starts going to the marathon, but training for the mile is fun. At the end of the day, that's the best part of the mile, right? You can do strength work, you can do speed work, you get to do hills, you get to do sprinting. It's all the really fun types of training versus I'm going to go out and run 20 miles,
Yeah.
And so the idea behind the all out mile is really Under Armour. It's they're opening Pandora's box to every runner because they're giving them the resources that we get as professional runners. They're giving it to everybody for free. You're getting expert coaching in running, strength training, human performance. Literally, this stuff is absolutely free. This stuff that you pay top dollar for, it's not available because these coaches are they're on contract with Under Armour, right? So I think that's a really, really cool element that they're really trying to drive this community aspect by having zero barrier to entry. All you got to do is sign up, and then you get 30 days of free training. And then the race period is from October 1st to 11th. So it gives you that window where if I was going to do it on this Saturday, but the weather's bad, you don't want to go out. You can run a decent 5K in bad weather because you're out there for longer. But the mile, it's very specific. You got to have good weather. It can't be too windy. Don't want to storm. Can't be too hot. But yeah, just give people an opportunity to also one of my favorite parts about the whole program is that while it's free to sign up, you have an opportunity to yourself win cash yourself win prizes. But if you sign up for a team that has one of the 3 most total entries on the team, you can win like up to $15,000 for youth sports charity. They're giving away 25 grand for youth sports charities. And it's like, who does that? I mean, I think that they're just
for having people sign up on your team. Like you can, if you have the most people sign up on your team, you can win that.
Yeah. For example, my team is the Mile High Milers. We're up here in Boulder, Colorado. Denver's the Mile High City. Perfect double use of the word mile. The Mile High Milers for the All Out Mile Challenge. So sign up for my team if you're not going to join these guys. But yeah, so if your team has like the most number of registrants on your team, you get 15 grand for a youth sports charity. Wow. So yeah, so it's really, really cool what they're doing, and they're stepping up in a big way.
I think it's dope too, like you're saying though, like the mile is that's the glory event in track and field if you're a distance runner, but afterwards everyone goes and runs the marathons. They run the couch to 5K, but there's a lot of people from beginner to elite that can really go out and run a mile, and everyone has a mile PR, and everybody knows if you're a track athlete, especially in high school, everyone's going to ask you, what's your 40, what's your 100, or what's your mile time? You know what Sure. I mean? That's what they want to compare. So anyone can go out there and get some type of PR, whether it's a 6-minute mile or 4:30 or something like that.
Or a 15 or a 20-minute mile. That's the beauty of this. It's like the program is not based on where you start. It's about where you finish. So you start the program with a benchmark mile where you go out and if it's walking, if it's running and walking, if it's running the whole thing, like you go out and you put your best effort forward in that day one. And then 30 days later, you get to see how much benefit you've had. We're not talking 6 months. You know, it's like a marathon takes so long to train for. Like this program is 30 days. You can do anything for 30 days.
Who are some of the expert coaches that are out there?
Well, now that's all secret, right? You got to sign up to find out.
Oh, hey, you gotta get
you might get my ugly mug in your inbox once a week. We'll see. I don't know.
I also want to talk a little bit more about like the youth sports development side, because looking at the page, like Under Armour was really concentrated on how you're saying that they were donating like $15,000 to charity to really have that happen. And they had a quote on their page saying that 78% of low-income children won't experience that same joy or powerful movement due to the ever-growing list of barriers, really just the barriers of entry that come into running a sport. And even though running seems like one of the easiest things that you can get into, there's still equipment that you need to have running happen. You need to have the facilities that have running happening, even if the facility is just a road or dirt or like a grass park or something like that. So I really want to ask you, like, why do you believe that sports are so critical for like youth and everything like that, from starting from whatever age? Why do you think it's so important at a young age to get into sports and just continue it throughout?
You know, I could speak anecdotally about that, but I think I grew up playing basically every sport I could get my hands on. I wanted to participate in. I was a sports fiend as a child. But I think that, you know, the ability, the learning how to work in teams, the confidence that you get from being a part of a team, the confidence that you get from participating in sports. There's so many life lessons that we can draw from sports, and doing it in a really fun way, right? Like a lot of other lessons that we learn them in school. School is like you're going to class, you're doing homework, you're doing all sorts. Sports are fun. It's sort of like Mr. Miyagi, you know, like wax on, wax off. It's like sports teach you this stuff, but it teaches you in the most fun way. And they allow, you know, they get all youth sports coaches, great mentors, right? Like these people who like look out for you and your best interests and just want you to enjoy being around other kids and having those enlightening, eye-opening experiences.
Yeah, me and Aaron both, we weren't much as sports fiends. Aaron's probably more of a sports fiend as me, but we grew up running track and our dad was our coach. So definitely being around like those club scenes and just going around a club track has taught me so much. And honestly, the best part for me was as a kid, like it made me want to apply myself in the classroom too. And I bet a lot of people wouldn't say that, but like I was able to I started competing in the classroom after running. Cause I'm all like, dang, I'm already trying to be the best on the track. Might as well try and be the best everywhere else. So that was one thing that I really got from it too. And then also I seen that you are one of the coaches, and I seen that you're specifically over like the tips and inspirations. So like, what are some of your biggest tips or important tips or inspiration? Kind of just a preview, a sneak peek, because I know you got to sign up. You want to sign up, but kind of like your sneak peek into once you get into like running the mile. What are some of your important tips and inspiration for anybody trying to attempt and run a fast mile?
Sure. I mean, like always remembering that at the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun, right? And the mile is so short that like that focusing on something and chasing a goal, it doesn't have to be a marathon. You know, everyone's like, oh, I want to run the marathon. It's like the marathon is just, for some reason, it's taken this position as being this big goal race because it's very long. But it's like, as you were just saying, putting yourself in a position to do as well as you can, whether that's on the track or in the classroom, like having an outlet for that competitive energy is super important. And what better place than the mile? You know, you can go down and find a track, 4 laps, bring some people down there with you. I mean, I think like my biggest tip for any of this is like, it's 30 days, you're trying something new. Most people probably have never trained for a mile in their lives. And so it's going to be this all new experience that if we were all only open to more new experiences in our lives, you know, I think we'd all find ourselves being a lot more enriched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put that on a t-shirt, Aaron. Put that on a t-shirt.
Hey, we'll spice that up. We'll get that going. But speaking of the mile too, Will, like you had an incredible career, and it's great to see you, you know, doing your thing with Sound Running and Under Armour. But we wanted to ask you, like, who would you say are like some of the top milers? You have to name 3, the top milers that you had to race in your career.
Top milers that I had to race?
Yeah.
You know, I was. That's a bit of a tricky question because one of the guys that I had to race a lot, he ended up testing positive for EPO, and that was Asbel Kiprop. I had the good fortune of training, and one of my best friends in the world is Nick Willis, and I think that he's one of the most phenomenal milers in the history of miling. And then you have guys like, you know, I feel like I was racing in the heyday, right? You know, I had a young Matt Centuist, Olympic gold medalist. I had Leo Manzano, Olympic silver medalist. We have Bernard Lagat, multiple. I mean, how many freaking world medals does that guy have? Yeah. You know, like the beauty of running when I was sort of at my best is that like you didn't have to go very far, and all the domestic meets sort of had some of the best people in the entire world. And then Nick lives in Michigan, so Nick was always at the big races too. So it was really, really fun, and I don't know, I have a special place in my heart to compete against the top Americans.
I do feel like you're right when you say that. Like you were competing in like a golden age, like, and like I feel like I followed your career closely because I believe you graduated college in 2008, correct? Or
2007.
2007, right? So you were like, you're beginning like your pro years, like when I was like in high school and moving on to college. So I saw like, that was like my era of really getting into track. And I felt like you were one of those early on, like you were those fan favorites because you had such an incredible story coming from a D3. People always rooted for you. You had the beard, you had the mullet, the mustache. I feel like you opened the door for like people like Craig Ingalls. What is it like just seeing, you know, those type of characters develop in the sport now?
I love it. I mean, I don't know if you saw what I posted on my Instagram today, but I think that Craig Ingalls is everyone's favorite miler, you know, like he just brings such a levity to racing, to the act of racing. I think oftentimes, you know, when you have the camera that pans the starting line, right? It's like Usain Bolt changed it in sprinting. Before that, everyone was just like stone faced and really, really, really serious. And Usain Bolt was like, yo, like this is supposed to be fun. The looser I am, the faster I can run. So I'm gonna make a game out of this. And of course, once he gets down in the blocks, it's like, it's serious. But up until that point, you see with Devin Allen, you know, a guy who's an absolutely insane competitor. He's hilarious. And when you look at a 1500 meters, you know, like 1500 meters, really anything other than above 400, right? Is events that you're going to endure some pretty strong discomfort, right? The 400, maybe that last 100 is like you start swimming in lactic acid. The 800, it's for 200 meters. And like as you draw up the distance, so does drawing out that like pain threshold. And so it's like you're preparing yourself for battle when you're on the start line because like you know what's going to come. It seems like Craig Ingalls is just like he's come to an utterly open acceptance and embracing of like this is going to be great. I train so that I can do this. And I want to bring everyone else with me on this journey of like having fun and enjoying watching me compete. Because if someone's super serious and they compete really well, and then, you know, they're not bringing any levity after the meet or after the fact, it's like, well, that's not super fun. Why do we love certain sports stars? It's because their characters on and off the field of play, you know, like they bring something to the table that like other people don't have. And I was trying to do that with like the beard and the long hair, right? Like everyone else was like close crop haircuts, looking real serious, like they just got out of the military. And then there comes Forrest Gump, right?
Yeah.
And and so it's like the more fun that you can have, I think the better that you should be running.
Now that you're kind of like, I just have one more question, Joshua. I'm sorry. Now that you're like kind of deeper in the game, like being with Under Armour, doing sound running, like, you know, you're hearing like Craig Ingles rumor, these like retirement rumors float around. Like, what is an athlete like Craig Ingles, like that personality that he brings? And let's give him his props. Let's do this quick. Let's do this super quick. But like, what value do you think that brings to a brand?
I think it's an incredible value, right? Like that picture that I posted, if you look in the stands there, everyone is there for like win, lose or draw. The fans are there because they know that he's going to be smiling. He's going to come shake hands. He's going to give high fives. He's going to sign autographs. He's a huge presence on social media. And like, I don't know. I just feel like people sort of can't get enough of him on the track. And like, look, there are people that are making 6-7 figure incomes as influencers on social media. This dude is like a real life influencer. He's influencing people in real time to go out there and run, which is like sort of exactly what we're trying to do right now, right? Like we're in real time trying to convince people to go train and run a mile.
Let's move to the other long-haired kid though that's killing it right now in the mile and Cole Hocker. Because last time we got to talk to you, this hasn't been out yet though. Maybe it'll be out by the time we get this. But you were saying that Matthew Centrowitz was going to run better than Cole Hocker. And if they were to end up in the final together, Centro would finish ahead of Cole Hocker. They didn't end up in the final together, so we didn't get to see that head-to-head matchup. But Cole Hocker went out there, 5th place finish, I believe 3:31 as well in the Olympics. Just what do you think? What are you thinking about Cole Hocker's progression? I believe his season is over, but what are you thinking about after his season is over, how he did this year? 19.
You know, there's only one word for it, right? It's impressive. He stepped up. I mean, like I watched him and Cooper Tier run 350 for the mile indoors in February, and I was like, that's dope, that's cool, but like we don't have to worry about those guys. Like no professional athlete should worry about them if they're running 350 for the mile in February. But their coach has done an incredible job. He's obviously an unbelievable talent. He's got a skill set that lends itself to the mile, right? Like he can run a good 5K, he can run a good 800. Well, he can run an incredible mile too. So I was really happy for him. You know, I sort of like slow play my being a fan of Cole Hocker. But he had this year, right, that like everyone only dreams of. Yeah, when you like, if you put pen to paper and said like the things that you wanted to accomplish as a runner, he pretty much did all of them in one single year. And so I hope that he continues to progress, man. Like I hope that having more fast guys, it pushes the sport domestically. And I hope for the best for him.
And it's okay that you slow played that because nobody was predicting that like this dude's gonna finish 5th in the Olympics this time last year. Like no one's predicting that. So like
no one would have predicted that he was gonna be NCAA champion last year.
Nobody was really talking about that. So it's okay to slow play that. But like it's the people like this dude up here that
I can't. I'm also I'm not a bandwagon jumper. So like just because he started to run well doesn't mean I was gonna be a fan. I would love to see a little more energy out of him as a human being. But we got Craig Ingles for that.
He is kind of laid back though. That's very true. He is very laid back.
Hey, but he gave you the shush.
That's true. He gave us the shush. He did give us the shush. That was dope. That was dope.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's got to race Centra for a while, so good luck to him. Centra's gonna be coming with some fire, so can't wait.
Yeah, me either. But let's rewind back a little bit and then we'll get back to some more track stuff because we definitely want to talk about it. But like you were saying as a kid, like you were like a sports fiend. Like what got you into running and when did it finally when did it stick to you that you're like, dang, I can really do this for like, I can see myself doing this like through high school, through college and everything and maybe be pro?
Yeah, I started running my sophomore year of high school because my mom wouldn't come out and watch me play tennis anymore because I was like John McEnroe out there, like swearing and smashing rackets. So that, you know, like I didn't have the skill or the mental fortitude to be a good tennis player anymore. And my dad had been trying to push me into track for years and years and years. But, you know, it was like I was a soccer player and running track just wasn't really of interest. I played soccer all year. I was on a very competitive club team when I was growing up. And then, you know, it was one of these things that like first track meet that I go to, I got an early taste of success and like just loved the atmosphere. It was an indoor track meet at the University of Minnesota. And like, there's, you know, thousands of kids running. That's probably an exaggeration, but there's just like so many people running around. It's like all this energy and excitement in this like small building. And I was like, this
carnival.
is awesome. Like, yeah, like, I don't know what's going on in here, but like, this is awesome. There's someone like jumping with their feet over this bar and there's someone using a pole to go over that. Like, I wasn't a track fan really before that at all. I knew very little about the sport. And in fact, I remember my first day of track practice, I was like sitting over with the 100-meter guys. And one of the guys who was a senior captain on the team, who was also captain on the soccer team, on the varsity soccer team. So I played as him on the soccer team. He came over and just like grabbed me by the neck of my shirt and just like pulled me over to the middle distance side. He's like, no, man, you're not running the 100 and 200. You're running with us 400, 800. So that's sort of like been like a microcosm of a story that's transcended or persisted throughout my career is like, no, man, like come over here. You're coming with like what I think that I want to do. Someone else always has a better idea for me. Yeah. So I mean, in high school, I was a decent runner. I was okay. I wasn't like a national champion or even an All-American. I would never won a state title. And I didn't get my first All-American honors in college until I was a junior. So I think I was like a little bit late in blooming as an athlete. But I think that's one of the reasons that I got to run professionally for 14 years was like, I wasn't running 100 miles a week in high school. You know, I was my body as an athlete was young. And then as like in college, I didn't even know that like professional track and field was a thing until Nick Simmons went pro.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, he was D3. Yeah. Nick and I raced a bunch in college. And so like when he finally like decided what he was going to do and go up to Oregon and run with Gags, I was like, okay, I guess that's what you do. And like, let's go do that. And I remember had my coach call Gags and asked like, what's this kid got to do? And he sort of laid it out for me, like very plainly. Gags is a very egalitarian coach. Like if you run this time, you can be on the team sort of thing. And I think he was having so much fun and success coaching Nick as a D3 runner that he was intrigued to say the least of opening his doors to another one.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like, yeah, that really built up like your story, that D3 story, just like with Nick Simmons, and got a lot of people behind you. What was your development like at Pomona? Like how much different? Because Pomona, I mean, I went to Azusa Pacific, so like we raced at that track a lot, and you guys always have hitters. Like even looking at your all-time list, you got to be 347 or faster to be on the 1500 all-time list, which is great, especially for a D3. But what was it like being at that program?
It was interesting, right? So at times it was very frustrating when I felt as though the school didn't really care about sports. You know, we're out there putting all his blood, sweat, and tears and pounding the pavement for 70, 80, 90, 100-mile weeks. And like the only people that give a crap about it are the people that are on the team, you know? And so that was a little bit frustrating, but then at the same time, it was a freeing. There's a freedom to that because it's Division III. There's no scholarships. So you're not beholden. You're not there. Your running performance doesn't predicate or dictate, rather, like if you're going to be able to afford to go to school next year, you know? And it's a team full of people that want to be there versus a team of people that feel like they have to be there. In terms of progression, you know, my freshman year, I think I ran in the low 350s for 1500 meters and maybe like 153, 154 for 800. And then by the time my senior year, I ran 340.0, which at the time was the second fastest time ever in Division III history. You know, made my first US final that summer and ran 148, 149 for the 800. And so, you know, it's like, and a lot of that progression was between my junior and senior years. And I really started to take the act of training and the act of racing, particularly a bit more seriously, and seeking out opportunities where I could go to APU, you know, and run fast because they were going to have crazy fast meets. And like, I remember a couple of guys at AP, like Tim Ramirez and Brandon, like guys I remember racing them when I was a young college kid and like just getting smoked and just thinking like, all right, I'm going to like, give me another year, give me another 2 years. I want to be competitive with these guys. And so Southern California, hotbed of track and field, right? You never had to travel too far. We were never on a plane unless we were going to nationals, or always just like a 1 to 2 hour drive away from some of the best track meets in the world. And so that was awesome.
Yeah, sure. You had Tim Ramirez to go against 146 and Rono around that time too.
Aaron's sick. Yeah, he was a good runner.
Yeah, so honestly, like, dang, D3 and D2 were popping during your time in college.
Totally, but that's the beauty of being a runner, right? It's like what division you are doesn't matter when you're on the starting line, and if you're good, you're good. And so my coach had been at Pomona for I think 35 years when I was a senior. So he knew every other coach in Southern California as well. And he could just pick up the phone, call him and say, I got a kid, put him in the fast section. And they would, sure enough, be in the fast section.
Wait, how was it for you when Pomona Pitzer won their first national championship, their cross country national championship on the men's side?
I didn't believe it, man. I didn't believe it. I watch cross nats every year live, and I'm watching them. Like, I was a little bit disappointed when they come through like the first checkpoint. It was like 1 or 2K, and like it seemed like people were pretty far back. And our guy who was a stud actually like didn't have his best day that day, and he was a bit. I was expecting him to be top 5, and like as the race went on, it's like these guys just like passing people, and like I was standing, like I had my computer plugged into my TV, and I'm sitting there just screaming at the TV, like, "Come on, boys, let's go!" And then it's cross country, so it's like our first guys, they have that finish line camera and they start coming across the line. And I'm like, all right, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. And then it's like, hordes of humanity is coming across the finish line. And then it wasn't until they populated the scores that I was like, that something got messed up. Like, there's no way. I was like, maybe Pomona got on the podium, but like, I don't know if we had the firepower to win nationals. And like, they just ran, everyone on the team basically ran the best races of the year. And that's, kudos to the athletes and the coach for putting that together.
That's awesome. P-Town representing. Now, I also want to talk about too how you went to Olympic trials in 2008 and like you barely missed the Olympic team, finishing 4th in the 1500. But now looking back on that, like almost, I don't even know, that's like 12, 13 years, something like that. Like comparing how you were looking at that 4th place finish then, 1 year out of college, and now like being like at the end of your career, like looking at how you were like your biggest takeaway then, has that changed in any type of way? Like looking back and you were so close to making that Olympic team in 2008.
Yeah, that position, that finish is a bit misleading, right? So there's 2 components to qualifying for Olympic team, at least there were in 2008, and there's still pretty much are now. One is how you finish at the trials, and the other is if you have the qualifying time or not. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the qualifying time, and so I was just racing purely for place. But getting, to like pass Alan Webb on the home stretch is pretty dope.
That's like 7 people.
I passed, I had a rocket shoved up my butt for that last 100 meters, man. I was flying. But my parents and my brother were sitting at like 100 to go. And so I just, had to turn on the jets. I had to go straight Cole Hocker for him there. Yeah. But it, the beauty of that race was for the entire year leading up to that point, I was an unsponsored athlete. I was running with the Oregon Track Club, but I didn't have a contract. And so I was sort of like, let's do this for a year. Let's see how how we do at the trials. And then we'll make a decision. I'm like, do I go chase this dream anymore, or do I go get a job? And what that race told me was, even though I may not have even at that time had any of the fastest times in America, I knew that I could, but there was more in my body than I'd ever dreamed. Right. Like sophomore, junior year of college, I wasn't thinking about running professionally. I was thinking about what tech startup in the Bay Area I wanted to go try and get a job at. And then only like the second half of my senior year, I was like, maybe let's just give this thing a go. Like, let's try and see what we can do with this. So that 4th place finish was like, nope, like you want to run for a while. And then, because I'm finishing pretty well and had a good sum over in Europe, that's when I signed my first contract.
Dang, that's awesome. And I mean, and that led to your amazing career and the personality of Will Leer that we all know now. But moving on after your career, you know, how did you end up with Under Armour? How did you end up linking up with Jesse and doing sound running?
You know, if my role in sound running is I'm there to support, man. I'm there to have fun. I'm there to make sure that, you know, lend a hand, tear down fences if they need that, and help out in any way that I can, because I believe in that event. I believe in these like grassroots, smaller track events that like, they're a great way to get people into the sport. Jesse and I have been friends for 10 years. Even when I was not a Brooks runner, I was buds with Jesse way long before that, because he was a guy who was always pushing boundaries, trying new things. And I just want to support people that are doing that in the sport of track and field. You know, it's like, whether it's successful or not, if you're trying something new, like, odds are I'm gonna be a vocal supporter of yours. With Under Armour, I, you know, signed as an athlete with them back in 2019 and competed with them for a couple of years. And the last, 8-10 months, I've just sort of grown into some different roles within the company. And really just like, again, trying to help them with the wealth of knowledge that I have about track and field, about the professional side of the sport. And like, you know, I think that they see some value there. And so, hoping to continue to work with them for years to come.
And how was it being on ESPN? I turned on American Track League, and I'm like, Will Leer's over here doing the sideline reporting. I'm like, whoa, how was that experience down there in Churruca Hills for the American Track League and sound running? Like that.
Honestly, it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. It was so fun. I only had one rule, and my rule to myself was like, don't ask someone how they felt the last 100 meters of their race. Because it's like, how'd you feel? Probably felt pretty damn good. If I'm interviewing you, you probably felt pretty damn good, you know, like you won. So you're enjoying that last 100. But I took advantage of that opportunity to try and be a little bit of a different voice, take a couple different angles than people normally take in those post-race interviews of like, let's, dig a little bit deeper into who the athletes are as people, and give them an opportunity, as I would have liked when I was a runner, to talk. It's like, we very infrequently get to talk on ESPN, right? It's like the announcers get to do the talking and you get to do the running. So like when you have 500,000 people, I mean, I think that those broadcasts were pulling in like somewhere around 500,000 viewers. And so giving the athletes an opportunity to tell their story, to build their brand, to sell their brand, I think was really, really important. How was it? It was nerve-wracking, man. Like before it started, I'm like, oh my God, there's gonna be 500,000 people watch. It's like, don't say something stupid, don't swear, don't get caught up on your words. I had not practiced at all. I didn't even call Aisha and be like, hey, can I do some fake interviews with you? I was and then, but it's funny, once the camera starts to roll, it's like, I'm just having a conversation, and I gotta remember that the camera's over here that's looking at me, and where this other person is standing. And I was like, I think I win the award for most aggressive microphone thrusts, because I was just shoving this microphone in people's faces. But aside from that, it was it was a great experience. And I, hopefully I'll get an opportunity to do it again.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. Cause like you were saying, I think you definitely made it a little bit more relaxed too for the athletes as well. Like, you're having fun. I remember somebody was it Jade Stepper? I think she screamed right afterwards. And I remember you vividly, you're telling me, are you going to do that scream again? And didn't you scream or something? Something that happened. You made it fun. Yeah. You made it fun for everybody.
Yeah. It's like, I remember being, when I got married to Aisha in 2016, I remember caring a lot about how I looked. And I was like, no one's going to be looking at me. It doesn't matter. It's I'm just here to try and get I know all of these athletes, right? I've been competing with them for years and years and years. And the ones that I don't know, I want to get to know. And so it's easy for me to sort of lean into some of the deeper friendships that I have. And with Brandon Kidder, when I got to joke with him about manscaping, I thought that was pretty funny. But you're also you're giving extra airtime to the sponsors who are this is the Manscaped men's 800 meters. And it's let's talk about this product. You ever use it? It's a weird product to have sponsoring a track meet. Never had one of those before, but let's go with it. Let's try and get them back for another one,
Yeah. Breaking down that gentleman mentality in that sport, the golf clap, mentality of track and field, breaking down that barrier and making it more fun for everybody. You always been about that. So it's cool to see you on the other side doing it too.
Try to be.
And then as well, we're talking about a lot about your career. We talked about the All Out Mile, but since we're on Two Black Runners podcast, and we had you before, we had some hot takes. Two Black Runners, you obviously know we like hot takes. Yeah, and one of the things we like to do is called false start.
Oh no! I believe Usain Bolt false started. I think Usain Bolt just false started.
Basically, in false start, we go out there, we put out our hot takes, then you decide if that is a false start or not. If that is a false start, that means that take is whack. It's too soon. That's not happening. Like, what are you even talking about? If it's not a false start, it could be valid or something like that. So my first up, my hot take I gotta give to both of y'all is that Jakob Ingerbristen, bro, this dude just won Lausanne and what 9? I don't know. He won the 3K. That's all you need to know. He beat a talented field. Ran 347 in the 347 in the mile, fastest on American soil. Won the 1500. His dominance has begun, and he won't slow down. I don't know if he's gonna be losing to Timothy Chariot again. Everybody's gonna ask Chariot, you won 12 times to Jakob Ingerbristen. Are you gonna beat him again? Like, I don't know if he's ever gonna beat him again. Jakob Ingerbristen's dominance has begun, and he won't slow down. Is that a false start?
We want to start.
No, that is a fair start.
Let him know.
Yeah, Jakob is like, again, this is a guy that, like, when he first broke 4 minutes at the pre-classic when he was 16 years old, I think the world was like just all over him, right? And to follow that up 5 years later with Olympic gold medal is like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree, man. Like, I'm more of a Solomon Barega fan, but the way he won that 3K today too, I was like, dang, like he just looks so smooth every race that he's in. He doesn't look like he's really hurting that much, and he's only 21, bro. So we'll see if he tries that Stefan triple if the schedule line.
No, I hope not. I hope not. I hope not.
We'll see. All right, I got the next false start for you. You know, you were talking about your boy Brandon Kidder, and I've been kind of saying this more. I've been
Brandon. I gotta pop in here for a second. It's Brandon. There's no D.
My bad.
BRANNON. Yeah. No, it's funny because everyone says Brandon, but I got shout out to Brandon Kidder. I got your back, bud.
Hey,
Brandon.
Okay, hey, the homie. But
man, that's a tough life, bro.
For real,
everybody gonna say Brandon, you know? Everybody gonna say Brandon. And that's
I know. Brandon.
It's stuck in my brain now. I know.
Right. Good.
I'm afraid to say it now. But anyways, but what I'm gonna say is I think the Brooks Beast, this is a false start. The Brooks Beast have the best middle distance program in the US right now. Like with your boy Kidder, they got Josh Kerr running 329. You got Henry Wynn. They just signed Devin Dixon, a 144 guy. They're killing, and they got Waleed Suleiman, a 337 guy. I think that, Drew Wendell on a good day, 145 as well. I think it's fair to say now with Josh Kerr at the top, trained in the U.S., that is the best middle distance program in the U.S. Is that false start?
You know, I'm a big Brooks Beast fan. I love Danny Mackey. I think he's a very good coach. I also love all those guys. I love Josh Kerr is like one of the funniest dudes I've ever met. They have a strong team, and I just hope that they can continue the trend of moving upwards. I think that living and training in Seattle, it's tough, right? Man, that weather breaks you down. But like when you got a Scotsman up there who's just like used to the crap weather and the rain, seems to not mind it. And they go do their training camps, I know, but I guess like, I don't know, when you're looking at another group like the Pete Julian's group, what are they calling themselves now? The Not Oregon Project. Yeah, whatever.
I don't know.
Whatever. But they got Engels, they got Donovan, like they got a squad there, like their strength is not in numbers, their strength is on the top end. But I think you have an argument. There's an argument to be made there for Brooks Beast being the top middle distance program for men.
I should have clarified.
I'm gonna say that's a false start. I'm just gonna say straight off rip, that's a false start. I'm not sure who's number one is, but I don't think it's Brooks Beast. And that's not me. I'm just saying.
Mean,
it could be Bowerman, it could be Storm.
Yeah, well,
depending who you want to put there. I don't know if they made that leap yet.
Yeah, shout out to the very nice track club though, right? Shout out to the very nice track club with Hobbs Kessler. They got Mitchell Black, who was a 146 guy. They got Mason, who ran 335 this year, with Willis as a 329 guy. No, that's the beauty of middle distance running right now, right? There's other really good groups, and I think that's what people are finding out. It's like this is nothing new, right? In Africa, all the best athletes, they train in groups, and so like in America for the longest time, we sort of were like one athlete was going to a coach. And now it's like, no, we gotta, like, you want to be good, you train with a good group.
Yeah, I don't think there's just one. They're not the top yet, but I don't think they're number one. But last one, false start. We just saw this past weekend at the pre-classic, Courtney Ferichs breaks her own American record. But this past, she also placed second at the Olympics as well. But Emma Coburn at the Olympic trials beat Courtney. This Courtney Ferichs versus Emma Coburn rivalry in the steeplechase is a top 3 rivalry in the US right now. Like we got like Sydney McLaughlin versus Delilah, probably Cole Hocker and Matthew Sinchewitz, and then Courtney Ferichs and Emma Coburn are like right there, or maybe even second, like the best rivalry that I have in the US right now. Is that a false start?
That's a good one.
Clearly, is that you got audio on my background? I would say clearly it's a great rivalry. I know that, let's not beat around the bush. There's a lot of disappointment, and I know Emma feels it from what happened in Tokyo, right? Like my hot take to you guys is Emma Coburn's coming away with that gold medal. Like,
I believe that.
And I think,
I was like, you're right, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that in normal circumstances, she still does, right? Her dominance this year in the steeplechase, how she ran in Monaco leading up to the Olympics, except for that last barrier, led me to believe that I'm fortunate. I get to watch this woman train like most days of the week, right? I see the work that she's done, and I know that she's in the best shape of her life. And so it's heartbreaking when you don't get to see whenever the world doesn't get to see what I see, and then when she has a result like she had in Tokyo, that was heartbreaking. But Courtney sees the day. I mean, I just literally went back and watched that race 2 days ago again. And it's an incredible performance. She takes complete control. She does a little bit of like what Molly Seidel did in the marathon, which is like, I'm just going to be up here at the front and I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And like, if you guys can come with me and beat me, then good for you. But like, I'm just going to go run exactly the way that I want to run. And again, getting to see her in person at pre sort of attack that time barrier. Man, that was something special. That was really fun to watch. I'm very, very happy for her. Courtney is like an unbelievably lovely person. The first year Emma ever hosted her Elk Run 5K up at Crested Butte, Courtney came out and like ran and partied with us. And so she's like, it's a rivalry, but they're also very close friends. And like, that's really what I love to see in the sport.
Do you know what horse girl energy is, Will?
Yes.
Do steeplers have horse girl energy? I mean, he would know. He would know more than anyone. Cause
that's true.
He would know.
True.
I'm not going to go on the record as saying that steeplechasers have horse girl energy.
That's good. Good answer.
Yeah.
He's like, another few. Good answer.
Yeah. Because I don't know how my friends would respond to that, so I'm just going to say no comment.
That's fair.
That's a good answer.
That's fair. But we're about to close out in a second, but I also want to talk about this question because I was just thinking about this the other day, like with the emergence of like sound running, trials and miles, and American Track League, it really became popular during COVID, and the other meets, like the usual meets that happen around the country, like in local places, weren't really happening because either like the college is shut down while having people on campus, or just tracks shut down or something like that. With like 2022 coming around the corner, like what do you think? Do you think we're going to keep on seeing like these leagues keep on going? Because somewhere like where you went, like Pomona Pitzer or like Oxy in Southern California, like those are really like popular meets that haven't happened for like the past 2 years. Do you see more people start reverting back to going to those usual meets, or even like Jim Bush at UCLA, something like that? Or they keep on going to that sound running, trials and miles American track league and creating this domestic league in like the US and in the 22 and further on?
I think it's the success of the ATL and sound running, and like, Ed Murphy, National Distance Carnival, or National Track Classic now that's called. Like, these meets, they were required, they were necessary. And it's a bit of like the Field of Dreams mentality, right? Like, if you build it, they will come. So like, when we couldn't travel abroad, all the domestic athletes, all the US athletes started going to these little meets. And all of a sudden they're like, shoot, these are fun. Like, these are really fun. You get to go out there and like interact with the fans. There's prize money. You don't have to travel overseas. You can be back in your own bed the next day. And there's a lot of value. There's like intrinsic value there. I think that especially with World Championships next summer, we're going to see, I can't help but think that we're going to see a thriving domestic circuit around that. That's both true, before and afterwards. And then hopefully we can ride that. I mean, then it's 6 more years until we have a domestic Olympic Games again. So that's not, in the world of sport, like, that's not that long. 6 years to a lot of people, they might seem like forever. But it does take a while to get these balls rolling. But I know that, athletes want to see it. Sponsors want to see it. Because to a sponsor like a Nike or an Under Armour, if I go over to Europe and run in small European meets or even in the Diamond League, it doesn't really do anything for them because I'm not where the business is located. But if I'm here, if I'm local, if I'm domestic, where like people can turn on the TV at a reasonable time of day and watch me race, then that's worth so much more than like, shoot, how hard was it to watch track and field in Tokyo? I mean, like, you're up until you're waking up at the ungodly hours of the morning, or like, it was crazy. Right. And so like, to have it be in our own time zone just makes making fans easier.
I think that was a really good point, though, of the World Championships being here next year too, because you see like people going overseas like this year, I imagine just to get the experience of just going overseas, because that's a whole different travel process, and being that your first time doing that, like at Tokyo, could definitely like hinder you in some type of way. But like, you don't even have to do that because it's in Eugene. So like, what's the purpose of really going over? And like, the competition is here too in the US. So that's a very, very fair point.
No, exactly. Like, early on in my career, you had to go over to Europe to find the fast races, but we're figuring that out now. Like, meet directors are starting to figure out that, like, hey, I need to put up serious money for good pacing in the distance races. And if you do that, shoot, Jerry's group is going to come. Team Boss is going to come. Danny's group is going to come. The Beasts are going to come. Like, all these groups are going to send their athletes because they're like, from a coaching perspective, it's just easier to send someone domestically than it is to send them internationally. Just the fear was always that you would send someone someplace and the race would suck. But now you just know that the races are going to be fire. And so everyone goes.
Yeah. And then hopefully we could start, with Eugene being here next year. We're proving that, Americans can run fast here. So Europeans and Africans and Australians, they all follow the wave and they come here too. And maybe we got, track start making a little bit more money out here.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's the goal, right? That's my crazy dream.
Yeah. And now as we close out, thanks for coming on the pod. But we have a few just like quick questions, then we're gonna get you out of here. Like, who are your I'll give you top 5 or top 3 favorite milers? Because we're on an All Out Mile episode. So like, who are your top 5 or top 3 favorite milers? Just milers you've watched or ran against. Who are some of your top 5 favorite milers, or 3?
I think my favorite miler is Nick Willis. And it's not because he's one of my best friends. It's because he's just like this master tactician that like, he's just if you go back and watch his races he ran in high school, races he ran in college, all of his big professional races. I mean, the guy's just like, he's timeless and he's there and he's savvy and he just awesome. And he's an unbelievable human being, and has added so much to the sport of track and field that like, his impact is sort of immeasurable. Some of my other favorite milers, Centro, that dude just like has ice in his veins. He's unbelievable. He's absolutely unbelievable. But then, honestly, I do like this new, I don't want to call it the new generation of Kenyan miler, like the Ronald Kwemoy, Timothy Chariot, where it's just like the come and get me mentality.
Yeah.
I'm just, never before did we see races in 1500 meter finals that were sub 3:30. It's like you had to go to Monaco for times like that. And these guys just now they're just throwing caution to the wind and just going so hard. That's like, it's super admirable. And so, yeah, I'd say like probably like Chariot. I don't know, like also like Vintage Legat is so good.
Yeah.
So
that's my favorite.
Yeah. And like, you know, when he was racing against El Garouge, there's a lot of suspicion around that guy, whether he was doing it the right way or not. He never tested positive. So I'm not about to like make myself out to be a jerk on this podcast and saying that he was dirty, but like those races were always so fun to watch. And you always had like crazy finishes by a lot of those guys. But, you know, a good guy to get on your podcast and ask us to would be Willis, because he's much more of a student of the history of the sport than I am. But yeah, I think that is like a top 4 is pretty good.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get Willis on. You know, as we're closing out, we always want to close out with a good little love story too. You and your wife are for sure a power couple. So could you like just tell our audience real quick how you all met and explain to them who she is and everything?
Look, I'll just say to your audience, you know, you want to find your soulmate, run track and field. You know, that's where all the good people are.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, there you go. So Aisha and I actually met one summer racing over in Europe. And so like, I can't knock European racing too hard because it's where I met my wife. But yeah, we had the same agent for a while and we were based in the same little town outside of Brussels, Belgium. And I don't know, like it's sort of cheesy, but it's one of these, like, you know, the first time we met sort of like, there was definitely a connection. There was definitely an immediate attraction, and then hung out all summer. I mean, when you're over there in Europe, going to these races, you spend a lot of time with other athletes. And so whether it was like cooking meals together, going out to eat, going to races, like having, you know, celebratory drinks after a race or something like that. It's like, we got to share all these really unique and fun experiences, which like otherwise in life would be almost impossible, like to get to know someone so well, so quickly. And yeah, it was actually kind of funny when we came back to the US, like I called her one day. I was like, hey, like, are we dating? Like, we didn't really talk about that. And she's like, let me get back to you on that. I was like, shit, she just totally played me for the summer. Like, that's like, what a hot boy bummer for me, you know? And, but no, it worked out. And, you know, it's probably like my most favorite part of track and field is that I met my wife, and I just feel so lucky about that.
Damn, that was heartwarming. We needed that. But we were also wondering.
Yeah, well, she's on Team Boss, but she is the boss, you know, like she has all the control.
Hey, happy wife, happy life. I feel that.
Something like that. That's what I've heard. TBD.
Then being that your wife is from Jamaica, we know that you know, like, son, you be around Jamaican athletes and everything. Like when you're watching like the sprints, especially, do you find yourself like rooting for Jamaica at times? Like, do you be rooting for the country?
Of course. I can't not. I mean, like, I've gotten to know a lot of the current competing Jamaican athletes like way better than the current competing American athletes. Because, like, for example, when she goes to World Championships, the Olympics or something, I'll go over just to like keep her company so she doesn't get super bored. And I'll go to team camp for like 3 weeks and just like hang out with the athletes. And so I'd say it's less like, am I rooting for the flag or am I rooting for the person? And I just have, you know, so many friends that are on the Jamaican team now. And I have such a deep respect for how they've accepted and welcomed Aisha onto their team, that they all have my utmost respect and love. And look, one of the beauties of her running for Jamaica, and I saw this at her first Olympics in Rio, is that like the world are Jamaica fans, right? So like when I'd be out there in a Jamaica shirt because I'm going to watch Aisha race, like everyone would be like, yeah, Jamaica. You know, it's like, you don't really get that with the US. You know, you wear your US shirt, like other American fans be like, you know, USA, which is great. And I still cheer for Team USA a lot. But like everyone in the world loves Jamaica. It's just this tiny little island that has some of the fastest freaking people on planet Earth. And yeah, so awesome.
That's dope.
And then we don't have to get like deep into the women's 100 conversation, but just Elaine Thompson's 10.5. You saw that? That was crazy.
She's next level right now, man.
That was wild. Seeing that in person was amazing.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in my seat for that. So I was standing over at about the 200-meter start, so I was like a full track across.
Oh,
okay.
Man, that was insane. That was absolutely insane.
I just realized that, like, man, we really saw the second fastest time in person
ever.
Like, that's
well, you actually saw the fastest time ever. You saw the fastest time ever. Yeah, there's the rumors that swirl around about FloJo's world record are all valid. I talked to many people that were at the track that day, and they said that I don't know how that wind reading was not, that 0.0 that I came up with was not right. It was blowing, and so she had a little bit of Mother Nature's help, but still dope.
Yeah, crazy. But man, really do appreciate you, Will, for joining us on the podcast. Everybody sign up for the All Out Mile if you really about that life, get back into running. Like, try.
You don't even have
new.
to be about that. Just do it. It's gonna be fun. If you think that you might like to run, sign up for the All Out Mile. It's free. You got nothing to lose. You can help a team win $15,000 for a youth sports charity. You yourself can win prizes. I mean, it's like, what more great reason do you need to go do something? It takes like 3 minutes to sign up.
See, that's why I asked you to end it up. That's why I asked you to say that. And Aaron, you got anything else to say before we sign out?
Appreciate you, Will, coming on. Great stories, great talking. And to everyone that listened this far into the podcast, we truly do appreciate y'all. Go get that running report tee at theharrier.com as well. But other than that, Joshua, I ain't got much to say.
All right, appreciate you, man. Have a good one, Will.
All right, guys. Later on. Have a great night.